an unofficial advisor to former President Donald Trump, has launched yet another harsh attack on a black congressional member. This isn't her first confrontation with notable black women. Following the House of Representatives' approval of a resolution honoring conservative activist Charlie Kirk, who was tragically shot at a Utah university, Texas Representative Jasmine Crockett expressed her dismay over her predominantly white Democratic colleagues' support for the resolution, despite their widespread disdain for Kirk's racist views. Reportedly, many lawmakers felt compelled to show support to avoid potential political backlash, even if they privately disagreed with the tone or substance of the resolution. In her remarks, Crockett argued that it was deeply troubling to see fellow Democrats, particularly those who had previously criticized Kirk's inflammatory rhetoric, turn around and vote in favor of a resolution praising him after his death. She stressed that while his assassination was indeed tragic, it was dangerous to overlook the harm caused by his years of racially charged statements and the divisive movements he championed. Crockett's words struck a nerve, especially because she directly connected Kirk's rhetoric to the toxic environment that fuels hatred against communities of color. In a CNN interview, Crockett doubled down, responding to criticism of her dissenting vote. She pointed out that most of the opposition to honoring Kirk came from lawmakers of color, many of whom have been direct targets of the same kinds of rhetoric that Kirk popularized. She noted that the harm caused by such speech is not hypothetical. It has real consequences for people who must navigate a political system already stacked against them. Calling for recognition of this impact, she remarked on the unfortunate blindness among many of her white Democratic colleagues, who, in her view, failed to understand why honoring Kirk was so offensive to minority communities. Right-wing extremist Laura Loomer, an outspoken Trump ally who has styled herself as an informal advisor, responded with a barrage of insults aimed at Crockett. On social media, Loomer referred to her as a ghetto black bitch, language that was swiftly condemned by many as blatantly racist and misogynistic. Loomer's remarks sparked immediate backlash, with critics across the political spectrum condemning the choice of words as unacceptable. This is not the first time Loomer has singled out prominent black women for abuse. Over the years, she has developed a pattern of directing racialized insults toward women in politics, media, and activism who challenge right-wing figures. For Crockett, however, the insult is part of a broader pattern of being targeted for simply speaking truthfully about racism and inequality. Observers noted that Loomer's insult fit into a troubling larger narrative. When black women in positions of power speak out against racism or challenge mainstream narratives, they are often met with some of the harshest, most personal attacks. In Crockett's case, the combination of her race, gender, and political stance made her an easy target for someone like Loomer, who thrives on provocation and shock value. The outrage that followed Loomer's comments was swift. Civil rights leaders, women's groups, and political allies of Crockett rushed to her defense, calling the attack another example of why black women in politics face disproportionate hostility. Social media platforms lit up with hashtags defending Crockett and demanding accountability from Trump's orbit, where Loomer continues to maintain influence despite her long record of inflammatory statements. Crockett herself addressed the attack with resilience, refusing to be silenced. In a statement shared online, she said that while the words were hurtful, they also reflected a deep fear of the power black women hold when they refuse to stay quiet. She framed the insult as evidence of why it is so important to keep speaking up, noting that her constituents elected her to challenge injustice, even when it is unpopular or met with backlash. Her allies in Congress also spoke up. Several members of the Congressional Black Caucus expressed solidarity, stressing that Crockett's treatment was unacceptable and highlighting the need for systemic changes to protect lawmakers from harassment and abuse. They pointed out that racialized attacks on black women leaders are not isolated incidents, but part of a long pattern designed to intimidate and marginalize their voices. Meanwhile, political analysts argued that the dust-up underscored divisions within the Democratic Party itself. Crockett's criticism of her white colleagues for voting to honor Kirk touched on sensitive dynamics, namely, the tension between optics and principles. While some Democrats worried about appearing disrespectful in the wake of Kirk's death, lawmakers like Crockett insisted that refusing to honor him was not about disrespect, but about refusing to whitewash his harmful legacy. The clash also reignited debates about the role of extremist figures like Laura Loomer in Trump's political ecosystem. Although not an official staffer, Loomer has positioned herself as part of Trump's inner circle, frequently defending him online and echoing his rhetoric. Her willingness to publicly launch such a vicious attack on a sitting congresswoman shows how normalized extremist language has become within certain segments of the right. In the end, the episode served as both a personal attack on Jasmine Crockett and a broader reflection of the challenges black women face in politics. The controversy highlighted the dangers of sanitizing the legacies of divisive figures like Charlie Kirk, while also exposing how quickly racial and gendered slurs are deployed to silence those who push back. For Crockett and her supporters, the insult was not just a personal slight, but a reminder of why her voice matters. By standing her ground, she has sparked important conversations about race, accountability, and the urgent need to confront hate speech in politics. And while Loomer's words may have been intended to demean, they instead underscored exactly why leaders like Crockett remain vital voices in